So yeah, super exciting to have everybody jumping in for the beginner's guide to strength and fitness. Ask us anything. Lots of people been, Mike jumped on the first ask us anything and got pummeled with questions and everybody got inspired about exercise. So it's a really good time to jump in and talk about a whole range of things. So we'll cover why exercise is important beyond just weight loss. Do you need to lose fat or build muscle, and how to tell? The basics of progressive overload and how to level up progressively without breaking yourself, but while making really good progress. And finding the minimum effective dose of exercise so you don't waste your time. And the difference between fitness and strength. So, why they're both important. I love these photos. I remember going to my first state powerlifting comp with my son, and when I walked in the door, there was this like 75-year-old lady. This isn't her, but deadlifting, setting I think it was a state record at the time. And yeah, just amazing to see older women who are strong and resilient and just going, yeah, I go visit people in the nursing home that are 10 years younger than me and help them, and I try to inspire them, and I wish more people were fit and strong. And it doesn't mean you have to be radically different. You won't get huge or jacked or look too manly, but I think just being strong makes you resilient. This is Roseanne deadlifting on 100 pounds on a 98th birthday, so rock on. So as Ren was saying, maybe you can jump in and ask any questions here, Ren, but we all focus on the weight on the scale. It's just inculturated, especially for women. Jane Fonda did cardio, and maybe there's a few little pink weights occasionally that you think you're lifting something heavy. But for women especially, there's more of a focus on cardio and the number on the scale to get lighter, but that doesn't actually mean you're healthier. And simply judging yourself on the number on the scale is deceptive. So in all our courses, we talk about, don't eat less, but eat better. So change what you eat to make yourself healthier, to promote satiety, to get nutrients. But the flip side of the coin that's really equally important, you can't separate diet and exercise, is, don't focus on weighing less, weigh better. And if we look at Mike's, I keep on referring to Mike, but he went from 380 pounds to 235 pounds when he was doing keto and fasting and running, and then started lifting and eating more protein, and that's 21 pounds gain, but it's a massive health gain. So, any questions or comments so far before we keep on rocking on? I love the interaction. I think Jan's got one.
Yeah, yeah, you just showed that picture again. And underneath it, there's an alphabet soup. And I want to know what the last two are, FFMI or MI or FMI. What are those?
Yeah, yeah. So, great segue. I've got a whole bunch of slides so we can jump through them in any order. Um, let me go back to the different metrics we use to judge our health. And like where we're going is, being active and strong are both important. Some high intensity activity, some resistance training, and a balance between all of those, all are important in within the capacity that you've got. And why is that important? Why is strength and physical fitness important? It's not just to look good. Hell yeah, you do look a lot better. We look a lot healthier when we're strong and robust and not over fat. But, when we're sedentary, our years of healthy life taper off a lot earlier and we become dependent on other people. Whereas if you're trained, this line here, you can live longer, but also healthier for longer, you're independent um, for a whole lot longer. So you can sort of groove on and be independent and live at home and do everything you want to do and then taper off rather than spending the last 20 years like shriveling away in a nursing home. And this chart shows that our muscle mass decreases and strength from maybe 30. Testosterone drifts down for men, especially, and then estradiol, estrogen, testosterone for women, especially, just drops in that menopause year, in those years, and really falls off a cliff. And as we experience sarcopenia, the survival rate for humans drops. So if we're sarcopenic, which just means we're losing muscle, and we also get osteopenia, which is bone loss, which is related to calcium, actually lifting heavy and eating and resistance training and protein. But if you've got sarcopenia and osteopenia, we die earlier. So that they're important to look at. And to get to Jan's question, we always, because it's easy, look at BMI, which is the body mass index, and maybe a BMI of 24 is optimally healthy, but that's just based on weight because every doctor's scale has a scale. Every doctor's office has a scale. We walk in there, step on there, and they go, "Oh, you're a bit heavy based on my BMI chart." But that really doesn't. That is helpful in terms of all-cause mortality, communicable diseases, injuries, etc., etc. Waist to height is better. We talk a lot in the courses about having a waist to height ratio of 0.5 or under. Aligns with optimal health, which just means you don't have too much fat around your belly. Having a fasting glucose of under 100 is also a healthy place to be. But this is where we get to the cool stuff. This chart here, rather than just looking at your body mass, it looks at the two compartments, your fat mass index, which is your FMI, and then your fat free mass index, which is your muscle, your lean mass. So what this means is um, you want to have a smaller fuel tank, which means you're carrying around less weight, less fat, and a bigger engine. You can think of, you know, your fuel tanker's got a massive fuel tank on it and a big engine as well. Maybe you don't want to be a fuel tanker. Maybe you want to be a Mustang muscle car that can power up anything. So you really want to manage both. And if you've got, um, having a bigger fuel tank doesn't mean you need more energy. It's like a dead weight. But our analysis shows that you're not actually burning more calories as you gain more fat. So having more fat on board doesn't actually help you burn more or eat more or use more energy. But if you've got a higher fat-free mass, it's like having a bigger engine that can just plow through more energy. And when you've got more fat-free mass, more muscle, you need more protein to support that. So if you want to grow fat-free mass, you want to eat more protein and lift heavy, which is basically the bottom line of this. And then to move to Mike's, sorry, I've got a slide here. Sorry for the jumping around the slide, but that's where we show here the alphabet soup that Jan mentioned. Um, Mike's BMI went from 47 to 29 and actually back up, which is the body mass index, but he looks and feels a whole lot better.
Yeah,
Um,
another thing
yep.
about this, the so I when I got these pictures done, I also got DEXA scans and something called an RMR, which tests your resting metabolic rate. So it's basically how many calories you burn at rest. And picture number two, my total daily expenditure was estimated to be about 2,400 calories or so. And then when I had number three done a couple weeks ago, my TDE was about 3,500 calories. So I put on a bunch of weight, I put on a bunch of muscle, I lost body fat, and I can eat 1,000 more calories. That my metabolism got a lot faster. So muscle builds metabolism.
Yeah, a lot
That's
of
all.
people are trying to eat less than 1,000 calories a day, but you're actually by going from 65 kilos of lean mass to 100 kilos of lean mass, you're burning a whole lot more energy. So it just means you can get more nutrients, more protein, you feel more vibrant and stronger. How are we on there, Jan? Did we cover that question vaguely? Jan's dropped off.
Yes, I had to unmute myself. Yes.
Yeah, and we'll cover that more a little bit more because I think that's a really powerful concept. And to be able to understand whether you need to, is my priority to get leaner to lose fat or to gain more strength. Um,
Well, I do like the idea of having more muscle means you get to eat more. I do
oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, and who couldn't like that? Hey, um, yeah. Mary said, "Will you speak about the difference between cardio and weightlifting, um, when one and not the other?" Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit as we go through. And Melissa said, I think health span is more likely equal to the lifespan if fit. Yeah, you live a long, healthy life. And I think we want to, Peter Attia talks about the centenarian decathlon and says, imagine what you want to be like when you're 80 or 90. Do you want to be able to lift a grandchild? Do you want to be able to kick a ball with your grandchild? Do you want to be able to get up off the toilet seat? And if so, yeah, you need to, at 50, think of how much muscle do I need to have? Because I think we lose about 1% per year or 0.5% per year. Do you remember the details there, Mike? I just forget
It's
whether.
something like that. I think something else that's remarkable about this graph, if you look at the very right side, far right side, you can see in the sedentary individual, it's like a slow decline, but in the trained individual, it's a sharp decrease.
Yep.
So that means, when it's time to go, because we all got to go, it's gonna be like that, as opposed to suffering for years and years. So really expanding your health span is really what this is all about.
Mm. Yeah, and so many people these days are just a burden on the healthcare system, which is really, really expensive for a very long period of time. So started on drugs for this and another drug to treat the symptom for that drug and another drug, and we're just medicated. Our symptoms are medicated so often. And if you can just, look after having enough muscle, being active and eating well, so many of those things solve themselves and you're not dependent on the health system for the rest of your life. Melissa says, I eat the same calories at 105 pounds as I did at 175 pounds. Wow. So she's lost a ton of weight and but gained more muscle. I think she's up about 2,000 calories, which is really cool to see doing her report. I get when I see people in our challenges getting down to 1,900 calories, it's like, oh, I can optimize your diet at that point, but if you can also be active, you can actually use more energy. Cool to see Leslie on the walking treadmill while she's watching this. That's super cool. So just to go back to the slides, if we look at this chart here on the left, the fat mass index of how much fat you're carrying, you can really think of it as the fuel tanks in our body that we look at in data-driven fasting. If we've got everything full, it's not healthy. That leads to metabolic dysregulation. But as we drain those excess fuel tanks, then we're much more metabolically healthy. But unless you're eating protein and doing some resistance training, you're not actually building the motor, the powerful motor that you want to be building in your body. So that's where we want to focus as well. That's the focus of today, is building that metabolic engine. You can see here getting up to a fat free mass index of maybe around 21. It gets you in a really good position of being strong, resilient, and unbreakable, anti-fragile. Went through those. So if we look at where Mike, the before here for Mike on this chart, he had a ton of fat, but he also had a ton of muscle at that point. Then he went to the keto and fasting, actually lost muscle, lost a lot of fat, which is great. But then with the protein and lifting, he's gone from, gone down to a very, very healthy level of body fat and way up to the extreme of lean mass. And Bob was bragging yesterday that he's literally off the chart for fat-free mass. So, yay, Ninja Bob, for being strong. So, yeah, if you're strong, you don't have to be super, super skinny at the same time. How does it feel to be off the chart, Ninja Bob? You have to turn on your mic. It's weird not having you
Feels
talk, Bob.
grand, just grand. But I'm reasonably convinced it's not quite right.
Ah, you, we could all maybe be a bit stronger or a bit leaner, and that's a good segue to look at different people. And I looked at Miley. in terms of her fat-free mass and fat mass index and fat-free mass index. And she's lost a ton of weight and fat over the last year. So she's gotten to a fairly optimal point. So you can see at the bottom of this curve, you're not going to get any benefit in a lower hazard ratio by getting leaner. So there is a point where if you've got too little fat in your body, your immunity and other things is not great. So you don't want to be completely under fat. There's sort of a minimum level of fat that's healthy. But for Miley, if she wanted to push anything, it'd be getting stronger. And she's been doing Morpheus and being really active and getting a cardio in. But she could eke out a little bit more health gains by focusing on getting a bit stronger and adding that lean mass. This is another person, a family member that is pretty optimal from a body fat perspective, but a bit under muscled. So if she was to focus on some gym and eating a bit more bioavailable protein, she'd get into a better position, which should balance out the body fat. And the great thing about people lose weight, but they still don't always look as amazing as they could. And I think maybe if I had skin surgery, I'd lose my baggy skin. But really, if you push a bit more muscle, you've got something to hang that excess skin on. You actually look pretty good without worrying about surgery. Judy, we talked about before, she's been a bodybuilder in the past, had some tendonitis issues and a little bit lower fat and a little bit more muscle, but overall she's doing pretty well. But if you dial in your fat and your muscle closer to optimal, you're going to be metabolically healthy. You're going to have a big enough engine and not too much of a fuel tank sitting on your body, which is weighing you down. Any questions on those funky charts and deciding should I be leaner, should I be stronger? Before we keep on kicking on. Bob's got his hand up. Look at that. How does it feel? You usually just butt in the dieted fasting lives.
Just quickly, Peter Attia has a metric or a target that I like. He said, if you want to live, you want to have more health span, aim to be fill in the blank, as fit as strong as, whatever, the people that are 20 years younger. So I've adopted that. And whenever I'm comparing, I'll compare to people, that are in good shape in their 50s. And how do I compare to that? So,
Good goal. Any commentary to add to all that, Mike? You're the
No,
man of the hour.
that's all really good. I think just exercise and fitness in general there needs to be a paradigm shift from losing weight and steady state cardio at the gym all the time to actually just building muscle. Like it's my opinion, like when we go to the gym, our goal is to get stronger, not to just burn calories,
Mm,
Cardio is important, but I think when I made that switch in my mind, that's really when I progressed and my body recomposition really took off. You
mm.
prioritize protein, you progressive overload with the weights. I still get my cardio in, but I'm not doing as much running or stuff like that. But I really think emphasizing the muscle growth is extremely important. So,
How do you see the balance of cardio versus muscle gain and resistance training? How do you program that for yourself and prioritize that?
yeah, so me personally, I've gone through so many iterations, Marty. Right now, what I'm doing is I do strength training every other day, and I do like a push pull legs program. So I'm hitting all the muscles in my body. I do pretty high volume training, but then on my off days, I try to get 8 to 10,000 steps. I have a treadmill. I just put the TV on. I just slowly walk. Um, and when I lift, I do supersets, so I get my heart rate pretty high. Like I get zone 3, some zone 4, but I'm at least zone 2 for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours when I lift. So I'm still getting a lot of cardio too. But
Do you want to explain the heart rate zones briefly?
yeah. So zone 2 is you can still talk while you're exercising. Zone 3 is you're short of breath. You can't really talk. Zone 4 is you can't talk at all. And then zone 5, I think there's a zone 6, but I'm not really sure. But it's basically um, relation to your maximum heart rate, if I'm not
Mm,
mistaken.
Mm,
It's just basically how hard your heart is working. So it's really important. I think VO2 max is extremely important as we age. So I think that's something that we need to consider. But I personally, just my bias, I think fat-free mass index is more important because
mm.
there's no replacement for weight training.
Yeah, I agree. And I think both are important and getting some zone two, which is like you said, where you can breathe easily, but also some really intense stuff. And a lot of us have been using the Morpheus app, which is a heart rate chest strap that'll judge, are you well recovered? Can you push hard today or do you need to chill out? And how many minutes of different zones you get across the day, which I found really helpful because when I was cycling a lot, you'd push it too hard and burn out. And it's just a way of going push hard today, not so hard today is really super cool. But yeah, definitely the resistance training is underrated, and I think particularly older women would really benefit from doing everything they can to
Right.
get
I
stronger.
I think I used to be in the mindset of exercise is just there to burn calories, and when you look at like how our bodies actually burn calories and where the majority of the calories come from, it's
Mm,
not exercise. It's not even
mm,
close.
mm.
It's all your base metabolic rate, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, thermic effect of food, and then like exercise is really tiny. So if you're relying on exercise to burn your calories, if you have a bad diet, it's not gonna work. So, but if you build muscle, your BMR is gonna shoot
Mm.
up like a rocket. Like mine took off by 1,000 calories,
Yeah.
and that's just weightlifting. So
Yeah, you went from 65 kilograms of fat-free mass to 100 kilos of fat-free mass. So that took you way up and off the end of my chart here.
sorry.
But yeah, that's how it works. You burn energy or you need more energy if you've got more muscle. It's not about the half an hour a day of running on the treadmill. It's you because you've done the work to build the muscle, you're actually using more energy, you can eat more, you can get more protein. And yeah, it's just a virtuous cycle.
Yep. And the other half of that is fueling your body the correct way, which is
Yeah.
where ON comes in, which is perfect. So
Protein and iron in the lifting. So we talk a lot about progressive overload, and there's this cool story of Milo of Croton that is, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but is legendary in the bodybuilding circles that demonstrates the idea of progressive overload and sort of the story of a young wrestler who had a pet baby calf, and as he grew to a teenager, the calf got bigger and he kept carrying it. And then, he got bigger and grew to be a large man and kept carrying the bull. So it's a crazy sort of imagery, but it shows you that as you grow stronger, you can carry bigger loads. And then when you get stronger again, you can carry bigger loads again. And you can do that in the gym. And the secret is to start small. But the other secret is to um, keep going and increasing the weight, and that is super critical wherever you start. Whether everybody starts ideally with an empty bar. You just get an empty bar and lift that, and go, yeah, that was easy. Maybe a little bit tired, a little bit fatigued, but not really. And then once you can do that easily, you come back and put a little bit more weight on it, a little bit more weight on it, and it's the recovery in between that's super important that drives growth, recovery, growth. But if you push it too hard, this is what we see again and again in our nutrition challenges, is that everybody comes in day one, wants to nail it. They push it too hard, they get overwhelmed and burn out, and they end up dietarily overtrained. But you get the same thing from fatigue, from exercise overtraining. If you push it too hard, you get too fatigued. So you've got to find that right balance of a little bit of extra weight, but not too much and enough recovery. Mike says he does, a day off, day on with the gym and make sure he gets 8 to 10,000 steps on days he's not in the gym. So he's getting that continual progressive overload. He spends more time than I do in the gym, but I try to do it, most days, probably 5, 6, 7 if I'm feeling really good. But I'm only in there for half an hour each day, and that's enough to feel just a little bit sore, but not overly sore. And there's this optimal. We talk in our programs about minimum effective dose of actionable data for data-driven fasting. We use just the right amount of data and information without blowing your mind. And it's the same sort of thing that in training you get just enough, but not so much that you're wasting your effort and not getting additional returns, and definitely not so much that you push it so hard that you break yourself, you're fatigued, you get um, injuries, etc., etc. So, did you want to comment any more? Oh, Ren's got a question. Huzzah! Look at this interactive group.
Yeah, my question is there a difference between, or is one more important than the other, um, more repetitions versus more weight?
I love these segues. It's like I've got I didn't tell you to ask that question, did I, Ren?
I read minds, Marty. I do have a telepathy thing. Truly, I do.
Um, so if I look at my program, which I've shared in the group, it just goes from week one, I'll do 15 reps of lighter weight, then I'll do 10 reps of a heavier weight, then I'll do 5 reps of a heavier weight again, and 3 reps of a fairly heavy weight, and then it gets to, you know, that last week of 5. What can I press that's as heavy as possible for at least 1 rep? And the reason I do that because all of those different rep ranges are valuable. And why they're valuable, if I jump back to the other slides, is that low reps. So if you only have to lift something 2 or 3 times, you can lift a lot. But if you do that every day, you'll get stronger. But eventually, the injury risk is high, the fatigue risk is high. So if you're doing down on this lower end of 20 reps, so something you can lift 20 times is a much lower weight, and that builds endurance. And like I was talking about was cardio, but also hypertrophy. So hypertrophy is just getting, see Mike's shoulder boulders that he's got going on there. That's the high rep, high volume of doing lighter weight lots of times. But if you want to get really strong, you want to just lift lower reps. And my son, when he was on insulin and 16-year-old testosterone and growth hormone naturally, would just walk into the gym and try to lift max load every time. And I'm saying, just, you'll break yourself to do, progressive overload. And he goes, no, I don't know how that works. And he set a world record. But most mere mortals have to oscillate between higher reps with lower weights and then lower reps with higher weights. So that's a
Yeah,
really good question, Ren.
I think with hypertrophy, I think the literature shows that if you're aiming for hypertrophy, reps between 6 to 33 reps per set has equal amounts of opportunity to grow muscles.
Which is a massive
So,
range.
right. So as long as you're doing between 6 and 33, you're good. So I prefer 8 to 12 just because that's kind of medium and right in the middle. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. What do you say to Amanda when she says, I don't want to be bigger, Mike, for a woman?
Well, you're either building muscle or you're losing muscle. That's what I have to say about that. You're not gonna turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger. Um, people want to get lean and tone. The way to get lean and tone is to lift weights. You
Mm,
know, that's how you look better.
mm.
So you're not gonna get bulky.
Ninja Bob says someone needs to define hypertrophy. Do you want to, Mike, just unpack the
Sure, it's
hypertrophy versus strength and what's the
sure.
difference
So
and why
strength,
would you want one versus the other?
right? Yeah. Well, lots of people train for strength, so you can get strength, but not build hypertrophy. And but you can build hypertrophy and also build strength. So hypertrophy is more building muscles, like getting physically bigger. You grow the you physically grow your muscles bigger and bigger. With strength training, you do low reps but super high weight. So you're training your neurological system and you're training your muscles. It's really advantageous. Like you see a lot of power lifters out there who are like big and bulky. They just, they um, eat a lot of calories and try to put on as much muscle as they can. but they're doing like the low reps.
Mm.
So they'll do like like what Marty does. They'll do like 4 sets of like 2 reps or something like that, and then they'll take like 10-minute breaks in between so that they fully recover. With hypertrophy, the goal is to get a really good pump in the gym and start growing your muscles, if that makes sense. So
And what he said to Amanda is, he says, do we have to be bigger to get stronger? You know, females are sometimes worried about looking too big and too bulky, and they're educated to, I need to be lighter, not bigger. Why the hell would I want to lift weights and look bigger?
right, you can build strength without getting bigger. So there's athletes out there who are they don't want to gain weight. They're like weight class athletes. So they will train in a way where they're not going to, or maybe even endurance athletes, like they'll want to build strength. They don't want to necessarily put weight on
Mm.
because it puts them at a competitive disadvantage. So there is ways that you can build strength without getting bigger per se. But
So
yeah,
if you felt you were getting too big, you could go for lower reps and aim for more strength. But as Melissa was saying in the chat, unless, men have got testosterone and, a lot of the bodybuilders that you see that go, yeah, that's really too big. The mass monsters, they're on insulin and human growth hormone and anabolics and everything stacked to the gills. That isn't healthy, definitely isn't healthy at that point. But uh, a, a normal man finds it hard to gain a lot of mass, and a normal female finds it really, really hard to look big and bulky. It just doesn't happen because of the hormonal milieu in the
yep.
body. So, but being strong means you're not one of the statistics that, what was it, Bob was saying, if you're over 65, fall over, break something, you don't make it out of the hospital. If you get operated on, you've got a 70% chance, but if you don't get operated on, you've got a 80,
Yeah, I
90%
think
chance of something scary of not making it out of the hospital system.
yeah, I think Belinda looked it up yesterday while we were on, and she
Mm.
said it was 65%.
Jan said Mike ran first, got skinny, and then lifted. Is it valuable to get rid of the fat and then build muscle? How do you play that?
You can do both at the same time, especially if you're a newbie to the gym. So you go to the gym and build muscle, and then as you lose, so if you look at my FFMI chart, I started right where I'm at right now, pretty much. If I prioritized lifting weights and protein, I would have just lost body fat and kept the muscle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But instead, what I did was I did not prioritize protein, and I became a cardio fiend. So you see, I went
And you
from
lost all the muscle
I
here.
lost all the muscle, and I was under muscled. I was still over fat, and then I started lifting again. So really,
If
what
you
you
had
want
your
to do
time over, what would you do if you were morbidly
I would have
obese?
done what I'm doing now. I would have done what I'm doing now. I'd lift weights as often as I could. Of course, when I first started, I could
Interspersed
just
with some activity of normal
right,
walking.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I would have done more resistance training for sure.
Mm.
But
And
you go to the gym to build muscle, and then your diet is the thing that's gonna
yeah,
shed the weight. So
yeah. And if anybody wants to shoot me their weight, height, and body fat percentage, which you can look at photos or get from your bioimpedance scale, I think these charts are really handy. So for this person, it's their body fat is fine, but their priority is to gain muscle. Um, Again, Judy here might lose a little bit of fat, and but her bigger priority is to gain muscle, doing what she can within her range of tendonitis issues and the like. So yeah, I think that's really handy. What else we got? Um, Best strength exercises that involve many muscles for different body areas. Oh, I've got this. I've got a picture. Um, I love the segues. So Mike and I are really big fans of the compound powerlifting 5x5 exercises, which is bench press, squat, pull up, deadlift, overhead press, and barbell row. Like I do bench, squat, dead, overhead press. I probably an occasional pull up, and I do some kettlebells. I don't enjoy the barbell row. I probably should do it, but they're the ones that they're called compound exercises because they use more of your muscles. They use your whole body. The whole body works together. And you might go to the gym and get a personal trainer to give you some esoteric, crazy workout routine that's got all these weird and wonderful exercises that they have to show you how to do in their gym. And it's like, dude, you just need, unless you're a bodybuilder going in, I need that muscle on that side of my back to pop just right. You don't need that other garbage. You just need to lift heavy
Stick with the
things with your
basics.
whole
Yep.
body. And I've had people do Zach, who did the ketogenics programming, and he sort of admitted that yeah, trainers do all these weird and wonderful training routines that have got every crazy activity that all you need is the heavy barbells. And women don't need to be afraid of it. They just start with a light barbell with a light weight on the end, and when they can do that, they increase it a bit, and that will get you the strength the quickest, get you into the gym, out of the gym. You can get that stuff at home if you're not going to be lifting as heavy as Mike. It's pretty cheap to set it up. And we were at the gym. I got addicted to the Strong Lifts 5x5. Went to the gym, had a gym membership. Gym membership came up for renewal for my wife and I, and it was like, why are we wasting money on gym membership for the year gym membership? We could buy a home gym, and then COVID hit, and I was like, yeah, this is perfect timing. And the whole family spent COVID lockdown in the gym, and the son came out with a world record deadlift, which was great. So yeah. To talk about 5x5, there's a Strong Lifts app, and this you can look in more detail, but it's very simple. 5 reps of each exercise, 5 sets, 5 reps, except deadlift because that can be quite neurally fatiguing. Like the deadlift, if you do a lot of reps, you get quite. It's an interesting feeling that's hard to describe. But you go, my muscles
Systemic
aren't sore, but my
fatigue.
my brain hurts. So what was that, Mike?
Systemic fatigue is the
Yeah, it's
term.
like a neurological thing that your brain just goes freak out. I just lifted 2.5 times my body weight. Um, and then yeah, so it's just alternate workout one, workout two, and then when you can do it 5 times with 5 reps, you increase the load by 5%. And if you fail, if you can't do the 5 reps of 5 sets, you drop the weight. And it's just this incremental increase that is addictive, and you get that newbie gains that is really fun. Um, Susan said, is a single bar most effective, or can you get two separate ones, one for each hand? Do you want to jump on that, Mike?
I'm not sure I follow that question.
I think she's saying like dumbbells versus a bar.
Oh, well, really, you can get an effective workout with just body weight exercises,
Hmm.
but personally, I strongly prefer dumbbells. That's just me because I can do a whole lot of stuff with dumbbells, but a couple of years ago I did put out the money and got like a full squat rack, so I've got both. But if I had to pick one or the other, I'd probably go with a nice set of dumbbells because you can do a lot with those.
Yeah, I like the bar and the weights that you can just incrementally load them up a little bit. So
Everybody's different.
as long as you
Yeah.
incorporate progressive overload with compound lifts that use a lot of your body, you don't have to start with the powerlifting compound movements, but you might work up to that as you get a little bit stronger. Jill says, what does 5x5 mean? It's just you do,
You just explained that.
yeah,
Understand now.
5 sets of 5 reps.
Yeah,
So you
5 person,
do
yeah.
you do the same
Yeah.
exercise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take a break, come back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 times. So
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
5x5.
Yeah. Can I just say, I think this is absolutely brilliant
Oh,
because a friend of mine's an ambulance, works for the ambulance service. And then most times it's trying to get people out of the bath, and that's what frightens me most is not being able to push my body and like you said, also when you fall over and you can't stand up again.
Yep.
So it's just so vital.
Oh, very,
And I'm
very.
beginning to feel a bit stupid really, because I go to the gym and I swim and I do
Hmm.
aerobics, I do a bit of dance, but
Which
I
are all
know it's not
valuable, but
enough. Yeah. But I did do
interspersing
a
that
great,
with some heavy resistance training for
yeah,
you would be really
sure.
helpful.
Because a couple of years ago, I trained to do a swim, a long swim on the Lake District outdoors. And I, just because I didn't want to drown, I had a personal trainer and I did all this stuff. And then I just let it go because I couldn't afford the personal trainer. But it made so much difference, so much better than just farting about doing a couple of lengths. So it's really inspired me to go back to this.
Yeah, there's if you look up Stronglifts 5x5,
Yeah.
there's an app that I fell in love
Okay.
with when I was in the
All
gym.
right. Okay.
I think it's nearly free. If not free, you can get a spreadsheet. I design a spreadsheet now, but it tells you
Mm.
what exercises to do in the gym
Strong
each
lifts.
time and winds that up for you. So I fell in love with this. I was just down at the gym. I took over the whole gym with three different racks and alternated between each one doing a superset while all the old ladies were, there's a little group of ladies that did their little workout thing at 5 a.m. as well with me, and I was there with the whole
Oh,
gym.
wow. Brilliant.
And that was great. But then I went, why don't I get the gym at home? And yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a really cool place to start and very addictive. Like Mike says, once you start getting stronger
Yeah.
and feeling strong, and
I
you'll
was going to
swim
say
faster too.
exactly. Something else to consider that's absolutely free is something that I use all the time is Chat GPT. It can design you a wonderful workout program.
Yeah.
So you tell it what your goals are, you tell it what equipment you have, you tell it how much time you can use per week, and it'll get you really detailed. The workouts that I'm doing now is straight from Chat GPT, and it's free and it's really really good. So that's
Yeah.
something else to consider. So
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah. Because you
Yeah.
know what? I used to be 40 pounds heavier, and I think that I had quite a fit fat because
Mm.
it's like running around with two great big suitcases that you're running to get on an
Mm.
airplane with. But losing that 40 pounds means, I mean, I was running up and downstairs doing it with that weight, but now there's no reason why I can't get some weights and do it with those kind of weights.
exactly. And even if you don't have weights, you can get on the floor, do some push-ups, or if you can't do that, go against the wall, do some push-ups. The only thing you
Well,
really
Yeah.
need for body weight exercises is a bar to pull yourself on. So
yeah.
Okay.
And Melissa's inspired me to get weighted vests. So they're really good, and you can incrementally increase the weight in the vest. So when you're doing your cardio, you're walking, you can make it just a little bit. It's quite smelly because I sweat in it, but I'll get it away from my nose. But
Yeah.
you, when
I can't see myself swimming in one of those.
no, not recommended to swim in. You might drown. But on your point, my daughter was talking to a couple of AMBO students, and they were saying, I dreamt of going to car accidents and having cardiac arrests and some exciting things when I was ambulance driver and AMBO. All it is going for people who have had a fall and can't get up and can't get out of the bath, and old people fall and hurt themselves. And yeah, it's sort of sad. It's very, 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 very common as people get old. And yeah, you need to prepare for that. Be protein, lift heavy, and calcium for your bones. So your bones are a matrix of calcium and protein as well, help you build bone strength. But to build the bone strength, you've got to tell your body that you need strong bones by putting them under resistance. So yeah, and feeling strong is a great feeling. Ren, you've been incredibly patient. What have you got?
Well, first of all, Jill, they do make webbed gloves for swimming. I'll tell you, that gives your arm a heck of a workout.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
or
that's really,
flippers?
Yeah, and flippers do a heck of a job with your legs too. So you'll
yeah,
also swim far. Um,
yeah.
but I was going to ask Mike, and then Mike so graciously just answered anyway because he made a little comment about using body weight for exercises. And I think for a lot of us women who are just getting started, that's a great way to do it. And I also think that, I mean, like, you know, when you were talking, Marty, I was doing squats at the counter over here, you know, and it's something that I've tried to add. You know, I'm waiting for something to cook and I can do some push-ups against the counter. I mean,
cool.
these are things that you can be doing
Yeah.
all the time.
And to that point, like if you're doing it on the counter rather than the floor, the push-up is easier. So if you're just getting used to push-ups, you can just on the desk do the little push-up thing. And it's easier for an incline. And you go, oh, I can do that 10 sets of 5 reps or something. I'm going to make it harder. I'm going to make it harder. And yeah, find a way to just make it harder and ask ChatGPT, this is what I'm comfortable with. Can you just help me make it a little bit harder? This is the exercises I enjoy, but I want to increase the resistance and intensity. How can I increase that?
And I saw a cute little it was on Instagram or something like that, but it was this younger woman who had children, and the goal was to do a squat every time she heard the word mom. I mean, and she was squatting all day long. Mom!
And Pavel Tatsulin, who brought kettlebells to America, Russian dude, talks about grease the groove. So rather than just smashing in the gym for 1 hour every 2 or 3 days, you know, every time you go under your pull-up bar, do 3 pull-ups, or you know, do BJ Fogg used to do 5 push-ups every time he brushed his teeth or went to the toilet, or just if you're that way inclined, do the little things regularly. Just find a way to go, how can I look after building strength so I'm not going to be a statistic later on that I fall over and break a hip. And yeah. And if you start with fear of dying early and being a burden on your family, you'll get addicted to I feel great. I'm addicted. I love hitting the gym. I feel good. I feel clear. I feel proud of my body. Yeah, you feel so much better. Feeling strong is good. I don't know if Melissa still with us? She's got an awesome story. She just kept on smashing it. No.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
What are your favorite exercises to get strong? You just find new creative, crazy ways to make it a little bit harder every day, don't you?
Yeah, I guess in the beginning, when I literally was 70 pounds heavier and I couldn't do anything but walk, the first thing I did was just started adding some weight to my walks and
Mm,
walking more. And then eventually, you know, I got a gym membership and started doing weights, although I could hardly do anything at the time because I'm sure I had sarcopenia.
mm,
Um, but over the years, I've just, without really knowing what I'm doing, because I worked 12-hour shifts in a hospital, I had to just find ways to get the biggest return on investment for, you know, my fitness. I didn't have a lot of time to devote to it. So I did a lot of just hiking with a backpack and
mm,
increasing the weight. And that really helped my lower body and my core. And then I would do weights for my upper body. Fast forward to now, I I just renewed my gym membership again yesterday. We discontinued it for about 6 months when I basically retired. It was kind of, and so we to minimize our bills
mm,
until we felt comfortable.
mm,
Um, just, you know, like the frugal lifestyle, but I was able to maintain. Actually, I went back a little bit stronger just having my dumbbells.
yep.
We had a little bit in the barn from my husband's high school days, weights, doing the hiking with the weights. I load my backpack down like once a week,
Mm,
pretty heavy, and do an intense hike.
mm,
But that's why I'm on this today, because I literally don't know what I'm doing, and yet I've still made great progress. And so I want to like understand so I can optimize that as well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I do need to gain a couple kilos of lean mass. I
Mm,
lost most of my weight before taking your courses, so I didn't prioritize protein. I didn't
mm,
know to. And so I probably did lose more muscle than optimal.
mm,
And yet, because I was walking in the weighted vest, I
mm.
probably did retain a decent amount. So, anyway, I feel like even if you're coming from it, anybody on this, class today is going to do better than I did. And yet I still did it somehow just
Yeah.
by increasing the weight and trying to gradually make things harder. And I had never heard of the term progressive overload. And I never even knew what I was doing. I was just trying to keep myself motivated.
Yeah. But you have actually intuitively made it a little bit harder and harder and harder. And Melissa's the
Oh,
one
yeah.
that inspired me to get the weighted vest, and I don't think she's got the fancy one, but the guy down the road's just got a backpack that he throws a 10 kilo
Mm.
plate weight in. But these are great because they come with little sandbags that you can put in. So um, once you're comfortable with that weight, you put another sandbag in. It gets a little bit harder. So yeah, the wife and the daughter have got these two, and I've got the 20 kilo one, and I was a bit masochistic and quickly rounded up to 20, and I'm walking around going, this is really hard work. But yeah, it is really hard work to go for a half-hour walk with 20 kilos extra on, and but it's great. I highly and I appreciate Melissa mentioning it. Susan,
I
did you have a
did. Oh,
sorry,
I'm
go
sorry.
on, Melissa?
I did end up getting one like yours with the sandbags recently. And I like that a lot
Mm,
because, depending, like I wear mine around the house doing housework and I lower the weight for
mm,
that. So I'm still getting like some resistance more so than I would if I wasn't wearing it. But then I'll add more weight when I officially go out.
mm. Susan, did you have a comment question? Your lighting looks amazing, by the way.
I didn't hear
Gotcha.
the last said, but anyways, I also have a weight vest because I had osteoporosis, and I like Melissa just said, wear it around the house. I didn't want to use a backpack because I'm starting to lean forward, and I don't want to be, frozen in a lean forward position as I age.
Mm,
But and I also wanted to ask for help because I have this weird health problem where I have post-exertional malaise, so exercise can make me ill. And so for, 25 years, 30 years, I would exercise, crash, and be in bed for weeks or months. And I started doing this thing with COVID where I would exercise for only 30 seconds because at this point I'm so terrified of exercise. After, and I was able to build up slowly and eventually felt so good that I overdid it and have been recovering for 2 years now. So, but it's really 30 seconds. It's like one rep, and then I have to rest an hour and another rep. I do one set, and then I rest in another set. And and I don't know any advice. This is my own exercise program, but
mm,
it really is so frustrating. And so I can do one exercise 3 times a day or
mm.
twice currently. So any help, and they recommend against doing aerobics, so I just walk, but I'm going to start using my weight vest when I walk.
Yeah,
Uh,
I suppose just to refer back to this, if everybody says, how much should I do? And it's like just a little bit more than you usually do, but not so much you burn out. And for you, that's a very fine line. And for anybody, if they push way beyond their normal capacity, that they'll break themselves and fatigue themselves. And everybody's got a different limit and capacity. So just what you're doing sounds good, but if you know you're going to hit the wall very easily, do a little bit less than what you think that it is doable. Don't try to be a hero. And I don't know if Bob or Mike have got any other comments and words of wisdom on for Susan there.
Yeah, just do something that you can handle, and stick with it. The biggest thing is that's going to make the biggest difference in getting stronger isn't necessarily like lifting weights, it's your consistency.
Mm,
Just make sure you do everything in your power to not miss your workouts. Because if you could work hard one day and then you take like 2 weeks off, and you might as well have not gone to the gym. So anything you can do that will make a difference to you, as long as you're consistent, that's something. If you have a weighted vest, that's absolutely fantastic. When I started, I could barely walk around the block. To me, that was resistance training, because I had like
mm.
400 pounds on my frame and I could barely, I'd walk down the street and I was totally out of breath. So anything you can do to start, as long as you're consistent, is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to say I no longer have osteoporosis after a year of the weighted vest and the other things.
Yeah.
I now down one level, but yeah, it works.
That's great. So the protein, calcium in the diet you've been doing in our programs and a little bit of resistance training help with osteoporosis. And everybody's got a phone, and it counts your steps, and you can say, I'm going to do 1,000 steps today. That's not a lot. And if you can do 1,000 steps every day for a week, maybe try 1,500, but don't go to 3,000 if 1,000 is still a bit of a stretch. Don't go from zero to hero. Judy asked, how do I tell if I've got sarcopenia? And I think this chart is really helpful. Where's Judy's data? So just knowing whether you need to lose fat or gain muscle, to the optimal point is the lowest hazard ratio. So for Judy, you could lose just a little bit more fat, but for you, the priority is you'll get bigger bang for buck by gaining more strength. So yeah, but you're reversing sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle because you're getting stronger. So if the weights in the gym are slowly increasing, you're getting stronger. So and you look in the mirror and go, is my skin saggy over my lack of muscle, or is it, do I look and feel robust and strong? Like Bob said, Bob likes to be like a woman 20 years younger than him. So is that right, Bob? Did I get that right?
Yeah, almost, Marty. It's close enough.
What else do we have? I've got a couple more slides from questions in the group.
I had to leave for a minute, family call. Did you cover the going from zero to something?
Talk about it, Bob. Wise words of
Well,
wisdom from Bob.
I don't know if I have words of wisdom, but I heard Mike saying he could hardly walk around the block or whatever
Mm,
it was. I think that part of it, and if Belinda were on, is a mindset.
mm,
If you move it up and say it's important to you,
mm,
then wherever you are, we're all in very different places.
mm,
You just start, do something, whatever it
mm.
is. And you never want to do anything that's hurting you.
Yeah,
If you ever go to do any kind of weightlifting, exercise, training, whatever, and you feel a sharp bite, a pinch, stop.
yeah,
Stop. That's not right.
yeah,
And you can just start by moving your arms with no weights, right? You got the weight of your arm. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Got couple of quick more questions from the group. If you're a woman starting resistance training from zero in your 60s, what levels of strength and muscle mass can you realistically achieve? Mike dropped a bunch of really cool studies, which I haven't read, but yeah, get addicted to noob gains. Start little, just increase it slowly, and because you've got little baby muscles just growing, they grow very quickly. So if you lift a little bit heavier, doesn't have to be super heavy, you'll crave protein, you'll eat protein, you'll go back into the gym, and lift heavier again and get stronger, and it'll be a virtuous cycle that'll you'll be a different person in a few months and a very different person in a year, and the gains will slow down. You can gain at 1 to 1.5% of total body weight per month, which is pretty quick. And then it slows down a bit. And then if you're an advanced lifter, you want to be gaining if you're in the advanced category, you don't want to be gaining weight too quickly because a lot of that won't be muscle, it'll be fat. So to mention when you're losing weight, we guide you to lose weight at between 0.5% and 1% per week. For advanced lifters, it's gaining weight at 0.25 to 0.5% per month. So it's a very, very slow rate of muscle gain and weight gain. Otherwise, that's more fat. So that's where lean gaining when you're an advanced lifter is important. That's my little chart. And Cheryl Brissett said, I already have a strength routine. I also take a spin class and walk, which sounds awesome. I'd like some advice and adjustments to the DDF class, regardless of how high my protein percent is. I just seem to be hungry all the time, and I don't want to stop doing my exercise routine. And I suppose that's where finding the right balance is important. If you're sedentary and just want to lose body fat, then you really want to dial up your protein percentage to much higher levels, maybe 35, 40, 50, even if you're not moving at all. But if you're actually active, you need fuel, you need energy. So you get the same protein in grams with more energy. So your protein percentage will be lower. So that's where it's a matter of getting the right balance between protein in grams and energy. And if you're more active, your protein percentage tends to be lower. Yeah, and that's what we focus on in the macros class, which is super cool. And that's my weighted vest. Any other final questions before we jump off? Melissa's gone to dinner. Any final words of wisdom, Mike? We're just over
Just
the
remember,
hour.
it's getting healthier. It's diet is just as important as exercise, and exercise is just important as diet. And gaining muscle, in my opinion, is more important than losing fat. That's all I'll say.
Mm. Wise words. And to leave us with that one last slide from Ted Naiman, don't weigh less, weigh better, don't eat less, eat better. And that's like both, as Mike said, are really important. So thanks very much for joining us. I'm so excited. I want to see more deadlifting grannies. That would be a dream of mine, to see more people in the community at least getting stronger in some way and going, hey, look, I got stronger. I can lift a 2 kilo kettlebell and that'd be great. And then just says that's weird dreams. But no, I'm really psyched about stronger women. And I think it's really important. It's not just a man's game to be strong. So, and it's really important. So thank you everyone for joining on the hours. So yeah, we'll see you next week.